On January 16th, 2025, Nintendo teased their biggest game yet. It was Mario Kart. Of course it was Mario Kart. Mario Kart 9 was long overdue, but we didn't know what this was, so we had to wait a few more months to find out. Eventually, we got our Nintendo Direct. Everyone held their breaths as they waited to see what the next Mario Kart was gonna be.
You can go off the racetrack and drive virtually everywhere in this world.
This game was open world, like really open world. 30 unique tracks, all connected by one massive map. A map that holds 24 players. This was different and exciting, but they kept going. They made an entirely new tricking system, introduced a brand new game mode, and I don't know why they did this, but they added the cow from Moo Moo Meadows as a playable character. People were skeptical, of course. Why is this game open world? All they told us is there's collectibles and the weather changes. What are you hiding? And the tracks they showed off, they just seemed kind of straight. Is this even fun? And wait, hold on, is that $80? People didn't like that. Nintendo has never received this much hate before, but they've also never received this much money. And they were printing money. Because at the end of the day, people wanted Mario Kart. And when the Switch 2 finally came out, hundreds of people lined up for it. It is the only launch title for the Switch 2. Yet despite that, it made the Switch 2 the fastest selling console of all time. And it had a lot to live up to. Before we get started, I just want to say I'm doing a Switch 2 giveaway with Mario Kart World included. All you have to do to enter is subscribe and follow the instructions in the pinned comment. Alright, back to June 5th. I was really excited for this game, so for whatever reason, I decided to go live for an entire week straight. I figured that this game would probably be one of my favorites. But, as you can probably tell by the length of this video, that didn't happen. Now, before I critique the shit out of this game, I want to make something clear. I am not a Mario Kart fanboy. I am not a pro, I am not nostalgic, I am just a guy who's played this game far too much. Now, I'm sure some of you are going to be watching this with only audio. If so, whenever you hear this sound effect, it means I'm showing something on screen that's relevant to what I'm saying. With that being said, this is my first experience of Mario Kart World. The first thing I wanted to try was free roam. This was by far the biggest selling point of this game. Nintendo could not stop talking about this free roam.
You can enjoy free roam.
Free roam. Free roam.
But we really didn't understand what it was all about. The one and only time we saw them play free roam was when they just drove around a track. Thanks, Nintendo. Very informative. But what is it actually like? I happened to spawn near the Great Question Block Ruins, which was actually shown off in the trailer. There had to be something interesting here. Pretty soon I found a question mark panel. Upon driving over it, I was rewarded with a sticker. Okay. I had to get down somehow, so I decided to try to get as many tricks as I could on the way down. This look familiar? Yeah, I'm that guy. Eventually, I came across a P-switch. This was one of the main things they hyped up for the open world. Were these going to be like the shrines from Breath of the Wild?
Shrines? Did someone say shrines? What shrine? Where? Ritagzumo, Kimakusasa, Tamul, Maglatan, Tano Oa, Jitan Sami? Those two are right next to each other. Wait, this is a Mario Kart World video. How much does this game cost again? This shit costs $80? My apologies. Please continue. This is gonna be good.
Thank you, Skitty. So yeah, this is my first experience of a P-switch. Gather blue coins along a blue narrow road. You get these blue coins and then you're done. That's it. That's the whole mission. And the reward for completing it is a sticker. Fun. At this point, my frustration was growing, so I decided to join a friend. Oh, right. I have to pay for online.
Wait.
Yo, Penguin.
Oh, yo, holy shit.
When I joined my friend Penguin, he was just driving around in circles collecting these snack bags.
I just did this for like 5 hours.
We'll talk about the skins more later, but just know for now that the very premise of getting them is just driving around and collecting these snack bags. What? Bro, this is such a farm. After farming some skins, we both got kind of bored and decided we should try out the new Knockout Tour mode.
It's 20 out of 24 and I can't join.
It doesn't let you join?
Unable to join the Knockout Tour.
Unable to join the Knockout Tour. That is the message that plagues me to this day. What does this mean? Why am I unable to join Knockout Tour? Is it my fault? Is it his? The answer is neither. Knockout Tour just doesn't work online with friends. But we didn't know that. This message doesn't clearly communicate that, so we ended up spending almost 30 minutes trying to play Knockout Tour with each other when it was never possible. We are struggling to get the online to function. We just want to play a race together. And like, why? Why? Why make it this way? I can play Knockout Tour split screen online, so why can't I play with a friend who lives in a different house? We gave up on Knockout Tour and did a normal race, but the lobby was seemingly empty. Where was everyone? Well, they were racing. It turns out their race started right before I joined the lobby, which meant that I have to now wait for their race to end before I can play. I don't want to wait for these guys to finish their freaking race. I don't care.
No, they're finishing. Yeah, so we just can fuck off while they're...
Fast forward a few minutes and we did make it into a race. Finally, I can play the game. I was given the choice to vote between 3 different racetracks: Koopa Troopa Beach, Salty Salty Speedway, or Peach Beach. What I didn't realize is that it hardly mattered, because I wasn't really racing that track, I was racing to that track, and then 1 lap of the track. Dude, I don't know what's happening.
I don't know. Yeah.
In the race, I realized just how chaotic 24 players actually is. Oh my gosh. Dude, I killed myself. If you stop for like literally a second, you are in last place. It's funny looking back and realizing that I noticed the fatal flaw of this mode literally in my first race. Once I finished the race, it put us back in free roam. All right, we're out now? That was it?
Wait, we're out now. Yeah, that was the whole thing.
Next race in 30 seconds. Why does it not just go straight to the next race? I don't know. Is there some reason I'm missing that we have to go back to free roam for a minute between races?
I can't tell if this is cooked or not. I think it's all like very specific. Like this is kind of how it has to work.
Right. You can clearly tell by this point I'm getting very concerned of the state of this game. Time and time again, every voting option was between 3 intermissions and random. And people always chose the intermissions, not because they wanted to play them, but because they just didn't know they were voting for that. Nintendo, you've done a horrible job communicating what kind of track we're voting on. This is what a traditional 3-lap track looks like, and this is what an intermission looks like. They are almost identical. The only differentiating factor is the arrows. So I spent the rest of the day voting on intermissions when I didn't even realize it. I never even got to play a normal track. So we went back to free roam, this time with friends. Let's do some P-switches. And this, it just hurts. Okay, let's go hunting for P-switches together. I spent almost another half hour looking for a P-switch that, well, it never existed. Maybe there's no P-switches on the actual track itself.
There's like coins and stuff though.
What do the coins do?
They just give you stickers.
Now, I'd done a P-switch earlier, so I knew there was at least one spot where there was guaranteed a P-switch. So I went to that one, and it wasn't there. Bro, no, they actually removed P-blocks from multiplayer.
No, they didn't.
No, they actually did. Like,
I think you're seeing things, bro.
No, bro.
There are literally P-blocks.
Nope, they're not there. Why are P-switches like this? What's wrong with having them in multiplayer? We ended up just deciding to play private games against bots for the rest of the night. And that was my first experience with this game. Pretty terrible. Hey, this game has a lot of things that's terrible about it. This video is going to be stuffed to the brim with negativity and hate. So let's start with a few positives, just so we can start on the bright side. Can we talk about the visuals of this game? I mean, it is gorgeous. Like, genuinely gorgeous. The map is split up into these different regions, and each one feels vastly unique and culturally different. Hey, have I mentioned the tracks? I think this game's track design is actually really good. The new rail grinding and tricks make new shortcuts really fun to look at and play. Speaking of tracks, the musical tracks in this game are phenomenal. I'm not going to try to say the composer's name, but good job. I really like that when you open the game, you can just immediately start playing free roam. Also, when you play with friends, the waiting room is the open world, which is a lot more fun than just looking at the world. I quite like these charge jumps. The new skins are awesome and a little bit showy, but I'm fine with that. Oh yeah, have you seen these open world events? Like Super Koopas flying with you as you drive the ocean? It's such a little touch, but it's so fun. Point is, I'm not trying to argue that this game does everything wrong. Not even close. But I do think the critiques I'm going to bring up are valid. If you watch this entire video and you still disagree with me, then that's fine. I'm glad you enjoyed the game. But I do want you to remember that this game took roughly 8 years to make, and it was the one and only launch title for the Switch 2, the successor to the Switch 1. You know what the best-selling game on that console was? Mario Kart. So for all the things that are good, you have to ask yourself, is it 8 years good? Is it $80 good? Just keep those questions in mind as you watch this video. Okay, let's get started. Before starting any race, you need to pick your character and your cart. So let's talk about this user interface for a second. On the surface, it's pretty clean and simple. You get to see all the characters on the left, and your selected character is dancing on the right. This UI actually works really well, for a couple hours. Once you start unlocking characters, you're gonna have to scroll through all these other ones to find the one you like. It would be nice if there was a favorite option, but that's not really a big deal. What makes it go from bad to horrible is the fact that each unique skin is treated like its own character. Why? This makes no sense. Mario has 10 unique outfits, which means I'm going to repeatedly literally see him on almost every character tab. And like, what's the correlation here? Why is Touring Mario next to Pro Racer Wario, but Pro Racer Mario is down here 2 away from Oasis Wario? Is this supposed to make no sense? Because it does a great job at doing that. Luckily, there's a sort button, but it somehow makes it even more messy. I wouldn't even blame you if you didn't realize that this is what sorted looks like. This bottom panel is meant to show you the skins that you're looking at. So in this case, Peach, Daisy, Yoshi, DK, and Bowser. Ignoring the fact that this still looks very messy, it's still awfully confusing because I don't have one Peach skin. The rest of my Peach skins are on the previous page, filled with all of these other characters. What? This problem is amplified by the fact that there are 127 unique skins. I sincerely hope you do not like changing skins a lot. Also, why can't I see my character's stats? Because the characters do have stats that do affect the race. Bigger characters give you a higher top speed, and smaller characters give you better handling. The game never tells you this though. You're just meant to assume it, I guess. Assume that the biggest, fattest character is going to give you the highest top speed, that is. You know what doesn't affect the stats? Fucking skins. It doesn't matter what skin you choose for Mario, they all have the same stats. Which is just another reason that I don't understand why they aren't grouped together. Oh yeah, and while we're talking about shitty UI, why does the Friends tab show people who have Switch 1s? They can't play the game. This is just dead space. Anyways, let's talk about these shitty ass abilities. Mario Kart World is the first Mario Kart to introduce Rewind. When you activate Rewind, you will go back in the same path you took while everyone else keeps going forward. Who thought of this? It has 0 cooldown, you can do it for as long or as short as you want, and it dodges literally every item in the game. So now, if there's a blue shell coming towards your ass, instead of doing something cool like dodge it with a mushroom, you can just do this. What the fuck? This isn't even hard to do. You just hit rewind, that's it. How is this allowed in races? They did disable it for online races, but if you guys recognize there's a problem here, why not fix it for single player too? Besides the races, I do think rewind is a pretty good ability for the most part. It's helpful in free roam when you fall off of something, and it's really helpful in time trials when you're practicing a specific section. Also, why does the minorest crash pull you out of rewind? If you're on a busy road and you're trying to rewind, it will constantly get interrupted. Why? The other big new thing added to this game was rail grinding. If you drive up onto a rail, you're basically locked in place. You can spam tricks on them for mini turbos, you maintain full speed even during turns, and when you're done, you can jump off in any direction you want. The main concern of the rails is that you get on them and you pretty much do nothing. I'm happy to say that's not really the case. Usually they're pretty short and sweet. You get on, do a few tricks, and hop off. Lastly, they added charge jumps. They are exactly what they sound like. The only thing that kind of bothers me about these ones is that if you charge it for longer, you don't get a bigger jump. I know it's a nitpick, but it's so unsatisfying. Something that's more satisfying is wall riding. You can drive on walls in this game. It can be a little finicky, but I like it. It's a fun way to spice up the shortcuts. Overall, the new abilities are solid, but the same could not be said for the items. Mario Kart World introduced a whopping 6 new items that are almost exclusively dog shit. Here, I'll let this guy explain.
Coin shell. When you throw a coin shell, coins will appear. Now's your chance to grab them. Just don't let your rivals cash in.
Okay, never mind. This guy's voice is so annoying. I'm just gonna explain it myself. The coin shell spawns coins and you can get hit by it. The ice flower is just the fire flower, but this time it's ice. Revolutionary. The hammer lets you toss a bunch of hammers. The mega mushroom makes you big, fast, and you can run people over. It also makes you immune to stuff like shock. The feather gives you a big jump. You can use it to dodge stuff or shortcuts. The question block gives you coins. Wait, now that I think about it, we have a coin shell, a coin item, and a coin question block? Do we really need this many? And lastly, the comic. Wait, what does it do again? Oh, right. It gives everyone except you a new character. Cool. That is all the new items for Mario Kart World. Oh, wait. Actually, I missed one. The food. This shit is literally just a mushroom. Y'all made so many unique foods just to turn all of them into a mushroom? These items kinda suck. Besides the mega mushroom and the feather, you will forget that all of these exist. Wait, what were we talking about again? Let's just talk about the open world. I love open world games. When I heard this game was going to be open world, my hype went through the roof. Nobody knew what to expect. They could take this in literally any direction they wanted to. In the lead up to this game's release, I spent a lot of time theorizing what that could look like. Maybe you'd have to discover the racetracks yourself to unlock them. Maybe some characters or skins would be tied thematically to certain tracks. Maybe you could design your own racetrack. None of these things happened. The direction Nintendo decided to take it is no direction at all. This open world is the prettiest piece of shit I've ever seen. And I do mean that. It's really pretty. The amount of things going on in this world really bring it to life. Look at this kayaker or this elephant. Everyone is doing something. Everyone has a purpose. Except for one person, you. The player. There are really only 3 objectives in the open world, so let's tackle them one by one. Starting with Peach medallions. These little guys are hiding all over the map, and when you get one, you get a sticker. That's it. So why try to find these? For a sticker. Right, but I already have a sticker. Yeah, but now you can have another one. Okay, can I use more than one? Nope. Guys, there are 200 of these. There's a few that are somewhat hidden or hard to get to, but for the vast majority, your reaction is going to be, oh, there's a Peach medallion. If for whatever reason you decide I'm gonna find all 200 medallions, your reward is a whopping... It's nothing. Of course it's nothing. It's not even a message. You just have to sit there in silence knowing for the last 5 hours you've done fuck all looking for these shits. Hey, Future Xander here. I also just realized that Nintendo literally says in the manual, how many could there be? Why invite players to try to find them all if there's no reward? I know I'm hating on the medallions really hard, but please keep in mind, this is one of the 3 main things you're going to be doing in the open world. I haven't even talked about the other 2 yet. Question mark panels are next though. These guys are always hidden around racetracks. You find it, you drive over it, and you get a fucking sticker. Do people want these? What made Nintendo go all in on this sticker thing? I'm really trying so hard not to talk about the stickers right now. Actually, you know what? Fuck it. We're talking about the stickers. There are 1,056 stickers in this game. First of all, why is it not 1,000? This 56 is annoying as shit. Second of all, that's way too many. Beyond the stickers from Peach medallions and question mark panels, you also get stickers for collecting coins, how far you drive, how far you glide, how many tricks you do, and how many races you've done. How is that enough to fill over 1,000 stickers? Look at how many tabs of pages there are, man. By the way, if you're wondering if this is my screenshot, hell no. I wouldn't wish this on my worst enemy. But Luigi ITSB, thank you for your service. Now, if you still think the stickers are cool, I have a question for you. Of all the gameplay I've shown thus far, can you remember one instance where you saw a sticker? I rest my case. Okay, back on track. Besides the reward, I really like these question mark panels. They're typically pretty thoughtfully placed and sometimes even hard to get to, and I like that little challenge. I also think that placing them around tracks was a great idea, since whenever you have an intermission playing online, you have a bit of an opportunity to drive around and find them. You can also look at the tracks on the map and see if you're missing any. That's awfully convenient. More of these, please. The last and most important thing to do in the open world are P-switches. These are little challenges scattered around the map, and they could be really almost anything. But before I start talking about them, I have to bring this up. There's 394 of them. What, you really couldn't fit 6 more in there? Make it an even 400? I remember when people were talking about this like, no, there definitely is 6 more, we just still have to find it. And then slowly people started realizing that, yeah, no, that is just how it ends. Anywho, I'm gonna categorize the P-switches into a few different categories. First up, blue coin P-switches. You drive around and collect these blue coins and then, yeah, you're done. This is probably my least favorite P-switch to encounter. It's hard to say that all of these are equally bad because some of them are more fun than others, but in general, the blue coin ones suck, okay? They're just bad. Next is goal P-switches. These ones basically just have you getting from point A to point B. It's simple, but it works. Usually it's not that easy to get to point B. Now, there is another variation of goal P-switches, which I'm just gonna call ring P-switches. It's the same thing, but now you have to go through these rings so that you have enough time to make it to the goal. I find it strange that the rings aren't required to do these P-switches. For almost all of these, you can skip several rings and have no problem getting to the goal. In fact, getting all the rings is almost always slower than just getting a few of them and going straight to the goal. The last kind of P-switch is actually my favorite, a special test of skill. These are basically just ring P-switches, but they're harder. In fact, it's so difficult that you might not even do it on your first try. Some of these are actually a little tricky, which I do appreciate, and I'd be lying if I said some of these weren't at least a little bit memorable, but ultimately they are just kind of mindless little tasks. Are they fun? Sure, but I'm not really motivated to seek these out, especially because once again the reward is a sticker, and I genuinely do not care about this reward at all. I'm sure a few will argue that the reward is the journey itself. That's the problem. The journey's not that fun. Once you've done 10 P-switches, you've kind of done them all. Oh wait, I forgot to tell you the reward you get for doing all the P-switches. Ready? Drum roll, please. Nothing. What a joke. This is my main problem with free roam. There's no incentives to play it, so why play it? Even if you're a collector and you decide to do everything free roam has to offer, the game doesn't even so much as acknowledge it, let alone reward it. And if you're not looking at the internet, you're probably gonna drive yourself crazy looking for 6 P-switches that just don't exist. They literally could have just made one sticker of a golden P-switch or something that signifies, hey, you've done all the P-switches, good job. Instead, you just feel like you've wasted your time. Probably because you have. Speaking of wasting your time, what the fuck is this? For some reason, Nintendo's best idea of how to collect skins is to drive around into these snack bags. These Yoshi diner spots are scattered throughout the map and give you all the unique skins for each character. Was this the best you could come up with? It's not fun to do, they're not marked on the map, they're not particularly hard to get to. Call me crazy, but I don't want to repeatedly drive into a snack bag until I unlock every skin. But even if I did, it's so unintuitive. For example, let's say I'm looking for my last Lakitu skin. So let's go eat something. And I didn't get a new skin. Why? Because I ate the wrong food. In this game, you have to eat a specific food that corresponds to the skin. There are 19 unique food items in this game. So what food do I have to eat to get the other Lakitu skin? I don't know. I'm not even sure what the skin looks like. But even if I did know the skin, it would be hard to correlate that to food. And if I did know the food, it would be hard to correlate that to the location. The point is, it's confusing. If you care about getting all the skins, do yourself a favor and search it up, or just collect them naturally through races. I think if you do it that way, it's actually a lot more fun. When you do it in free roam, I actually think it's kind of annoying, since you know that for the next few minutes, you're just going to be eating snacks, switching characters, and seeing if you get new skins. It's not fun, but it is the fastest way to get all the skins. Beyond the skins, there is one other sense of progression in the open world: mirror mode. If you aren't aware, mirror mode flips every track horizontally. That basically just means that every turn on the right is now a turn on the left. It's a good way to make tracks that feel familiar now feel unfamiliar. I have no issues with this mode's existence whatsoever. It's already been in previous Mario Kart games, and I think it's a fun way to spice it up. The problem I have is how you unlock it. Unlike Mario Kart 8, you don't just immediately unlock it when you have the game. Instead, you have to do this weird-ass laundry list of tasks that make no goddamn sense. Ready? 10 Peach medallions, 10 P-switches, 10 question mark panels, complete all the Grand Prix in 150cc, complete all the Knockout Tour rallies in 150cc, and then race in the special cup. That's how you unlock mirror mode. And look, I get it. I know this is supposed to be a cool little Easter egg, but that doesn't make it above criticism. These tasks have no relation to mirror mode whatsoever. They are entirely random, arbitrary decisions pulled out of someone's ass. People didn't find mirror mode by hunting for this Easter egg. They found it by accident. I do gotta say though, I love the cutscene. They didn't have to do this, but they did. Also, the fact you can drive into this to get a mirrored version of free roam is pretty cool. Free roam still sucks though. And while it's on my mind, why is this map literally Breath of the Wild? SkittyBitty did a great job pointing this out.
At the center is, of course, the castle. To the northeast, a volcano. To the northwest, a snowy area. Dead north is the forest, southeast a tropical rainforest, and southwest is a desert. But then, it's not just any desert, it's got both reddish and sandy cliffs, exactly like the Gerudo Highlands.
There's nothing wrong with this map, it's just uninspired. Please stop copying the Breath of the Wild map, please. Okay, there's a few more things we need to talk about for free roam. First of all, there are these vehicles, you can drive them, you can fly them, sometimes you use them in P-switches, but there's usually not much to do in them anyway, so it's one of those things that it feels really cool the first time, but that feeling kind of fades fast. Another cool thing is you can find nabbits running around. Once you get close, they're gonna start running away from you, and you have to catch them. I actually find these really fun. He can be a little tricky to catch, and once you do catch them, you get coins and, of course, a sticker. Yay! Also, I need to gas up the NPCs for free roam. There is such a vast array of NPCs and enemies from all the previous Mario games, it's actually incredible. I'm not even trying to be sarcastic, like genuinely this is awesome. You got toads getting on tour buses and actually getting inside, dragons just chilling in the ocean, all these unique enemies spicing up the roads. It actually makes the world feel alive. It's kind of sad in a way because the foundation here is super solid. It's like they spend all their time trying to make free roam beautiful and lively without spending any time on giving the player something to do. If you're hoping multiplayer fixes this issue, I'm sorry to say, it actually makes it worse. For some wild reason, you can't do any P-switches in multiplayer. That's the main thing you do in free roam. What are we supposed to do together?
Just go for a ride together. Make this road trip your own.
Really? That's the answer? Go for a ride with each other? I can already do that in races. Why would I do that here? Do you guys genuinely think we're gonna get 8 friends together just to go drive around and take some pictures? Like that's why I spent $80 on this? Why would you remove the one thing that's actually fun? Now I know people are gonna tell me that P-switches would have been hard to implement in multiplayer, and I'm sure that that's true. I'm not a game developer, but for 8 years, I think you guys had enough time to figure it out. I understand that free roam in multiplayer is not really meant to be free roam. It's meant to be a lobby, and trust me, they make sure you never forget that by having this unmovable big-ass HUD in the middle of your screen with big white bold text saying start game. I get it, you want me to race. So you know what? We'll race. Knockout Tour is the brand new mode that they introduced in Mario Kart World. I'll let this guy try to explain it again.
Race non-stop from one...
Never mind. It's a race that spans across the entire map, which means it's long. Like really long. About 8 minutes if you're playing 150cc. Throughout the race, there are 6 checkpoints. Each checkpoint will only allow a specific amount of players through. So for example, the first checkpoint only allows the first 20 racers through. The 4 racers that didn't make it get knocked out, hence Knockout Tour. This essentially continues down the line until you end up on the final racetrack with 4 players remaining. Those 4 players will race 1 lap around a track, and whoever wins becomes the winner of the Knockout Tour. It's a battle royale, but that's not bad. In fact, I actually think it works very well in this format. Just kidding. This mode has one major flaw that tears it apart. Shortcuts. Shortcuts in this game are so stupidly overpowered. I'm not even sure how I could possibly begin to express how bad this problem is, so I'm just gonna show you visually. This is one of the biggest shortcuts in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. pretty damn good. But if you compare it to this random shortcut I found in Mario Kart World, it doesn't even compare. Like, what am I looking at? Now, on the surface, you might not understand just how bad this is for racing. So let me break it down. We all know that when you play Mario Kart, you get items based on the position you're in. If you're in first, you're gonna get dog shit, and if you're in last, you're gonna get bullet bills and golden shrooms. Now, obviously, this system isn't fair, but it was never meant to be fair. It was meant to be fun. The players with less skill would never be that far behind players with more skill, so nobody got destroyed. But as people do, they find ways to exploit things. Ever heard of sandbagging? It's intentionally performing poorly in the race so that you get very good items, then using those items at the optimal time to get back in the lead. A lot of people didn't like this strategy because it wasn't that fun. It made the races more about getting lucky items rather than actually trying to race your best. Unfortunately, it was very good in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe.
What? What placement did I get this in? Are you serious? I'm just talking. This is so ironic. I cannot believe this. This is cheating. How did I get a bullet in that spot?
So naturally, people hoped that it would get nerfed in Mario Kart World. So what does Nintendo do? They buff it. And I'm not just talking about the shortcuts, the problem goes way further than that. These knockout tour tracks are basically long, wide, straight roads. The fastest way to drive these tracks is almost always just hold A and do very slight turns. Don't drift, don't rail grind, and don't take these stupid ass shortcuts. They're slow. Ignoring the fact that these tracks are boring, first place has no reasonable way to create distance from last place. Think about it, there's 23 people behind you and everyone is throwing items around. You have no way to create distance from them, you can't get any good items from question blocks, and there's no benefit to getting first through the checkpoint rather than last. On the contrary, when you're in last, everyone in front of you is constantly getting hit. You're able to collect all of their coins, speeding up your engine, making it easier to catch up to everyone. Every time you get a question block, you get very good items. And there are these massive shortcuts you can take. This makes it so that last place is actually preferable in a lot of instances. Doesn't sound much like a race, does it? Now, admittedly, I do think the checkpoints help with this a lot. If you're always in last, you will get knocked out. So you can't just hang out and last the entire race. But you don't want to be in first either, since that is probably the most vulnerable position you can be in. The only time you need to be first is when you cross that finish line, after 8 minutes of racing. And to be honest, it really feels like that last lap can come down to RNG most of the time. Sometimes I'm in fourth and I think that's awful, but then I get a gold shroom and remember, oh, I just win now. But I don't feel like I should have won that. I feel like I just got lucky. It makes Knockout Tour feel very luck-based. But don't get me wrong, being skilled is going to make Knockout Tour much easier. I'm not trying to say that Knockout Tour is just a slots machine. Being good is going to make it easier to win. But I also think the skill ceiling for Knockout Tour is very low. In fact, I won a 100cc Knockout Tour without even playing.
Wait. Aim, no. Wait, what the, what? Wait. What the hell just happened?
The fact that this is even possible is absurd, and it goes to show just how much item luck is a factor. For newer players, this might be great. Despite your lack of skill, you can go out and win races because you got lucky. This is fun at first, but as you get more skill, I think you're gonna get bored. Especially because there's only 8 tracks. That is dumb. This map is massive, and there's literally infinite amount of tracks you could make out of this. Limiting it to only 8 tracks makes it extraordinarily repetitive.
The same Knockout Tour. We better not be playing this one 3 times in a row.
I think that these issues have led to Knockout Tour being played less often.
Why are there no lobbies for Knockout Tour? I don't get it. Am I playing with mostly bots? So how many people are actually playing right now? Yeah, okay, I'm actually playing against bots right now. What? There's no way Nintendo couldn't find 24 players for me, or even just like 12 or something.
This should not happen to games that sell millions of copies. That's a red flag. And if you're gonna argue that this is on purpose, then why? If I wanted to play against bots, I would play single player. I paid for online, so I don't have to play against bots. Hey, wanna talk about something that almost nobody cares about for a few minutes? To be honest, I never really cared for this mode outside of Shine Thief, and that doesn't exist in this game. Maybe one day. For now, we have Coin Runners and Balloon Battle. Tough choice, right? Well, lucky for you, it doesn't matter, because you're not gonna have fun in either. Whichever version you choose, you end up in a recycled, closed-off version of a racetrack. And no, it doesn't work. Obviously, it doesn't work. It never did work. Battle mode was at its best when we had custom arenas. What about this didn't work? Or did you guys genuinely think Mario Bros. Circuit was the perfect place for battle mode? Like someone really looked at this on the dev dev team and said, ooh, I have an idea. Come on. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe had 5 game modes, and now we're down to 2? Fucking 2? Really? Is that what my $80 gets me? I'm sorry for not talking about the game modes, but genuinely, they're just so generic and they've been done before. This is just a rehash of what we've already seen, but worse. I hate the 24 players, I do. It makes battle modes so much less personal. There's no sense of rivalry. Compare that to how it was back in the day with only 4 players. You knew exactly who your competition was. This just feels like pointless chaos. The only positive I can talk about here is that they added back elimination in balloon battle, as it should be. If all your balloons get popped, you should be out, and that is kind of how it works. But of course, Nintendo has to do some weird shit where they make it based off points, so you can be eliminated and still technically win. Great job, Nintendo. People loved that from Mario Kart 8. Oh yeah, and this elimination thing that's good, this was an update. This was not even how the game launched. This is not delivering. Believe it or not, people actually care about battle mode. I feel bad for them because time after time they're completely forgotten about. This mode is a complete shell of what it used to be. It's sad, honestly. If I search Mario Kart World battle mode, the most viewed video has 30,000 views. For a game of this scale, that's bullshit. And I'm honestly scared to talk about this any longer because people are already probably dropping off. One more minute of this and my retention is gonna drop off of a cliff. Luckily, this next topic might just save us. I don't think it's a hot take to say that the racetracks are the most important part of a Mario Kart game. If the tracks are bad, the game is bad. I will die on this hill. So if you're expecting me to say the tracks are bad, it's a little more complicated than that. There's 30 tracks in this game, 32 if you're counting unique layouts, but come on, we're not counting those. If you walk through a park and you take a different route than normal, you still walk through the same park. Out of the 30 tracks, 14 of them are retro, which means they've been in previous Mario Kart games. This might seem lazy, but it's kind of the way it's always been. Mario Kart has always recycled and recreated tracks. Sometimes that's a complete overhaul, and sometimes that's hardly changing it at all. I'll quickly go through each track one by one and give my opinion on if it's good or not. We'll start with Great Question Block Ruins, because it'll give me a good opportunity to explain what I think makes a track amazing. First of all, visuals. This track is so damn beautiful. Surrounded by bright blue skies and fluffy clouds with this big, ominous question block, I mean, I hate to use this word, but it has aura. Secondly, a good track has multiple routes you can take. You can go this way, you can go that way, or you can even go that way. I won't judge. Thirdly, a good track has a balanced mixture of straightaways and fun turns. And I'm talking about these turns, the crispy ones. Now we can actually start talking about the tracks. Ready? Mario Bros. Circuit is boring. It's slow, it's uninteresting, and there's not much to do. Half the track is literally one turn. Also, real quick, just listen to this.
And if you think about Mario Kart as like a mathematical formula for potential chaos, increasing the number of racers to 24 is a very significant variable in increasing that chaos.
And that's what we need.
Yes,
we need
yes,
that chaos.
Absolutely.
That's what makes it so good.
Is it? If it is really just as simple as more chaos equals more fun, then please put 50 players in the next game. Actually, why even have a limit? Let's just put everyone in the same race. That sounds chaotic, right? Crown City. This map is also very basic and very forgettable. The concept of jumping building to building sounds really cool on paper, but these roads are way too wide, so it ends up being too easy. Whistletop Summit. This is peak. I love this. DK Spaceport. There's not many shortcuts, and all the alternate paths like riding on this wall are actually slower than just driving straight. Why? Why punish players that take the harder route? Desert Hills. This map sucks. Straight up. They got rid of the hill that made Desert Hills Desert Hill. Alright, let's take a breather. I don't really want to talk about every single track in depth, so I'm just gonna use one word to describe the rest. Fun. Meh. Decent. Peak. Stupid. Goated. Generic. Okay. Cinema. Solid. Solid-der. Subscribe? Yes. No. Maybe? Sometimes. Smash. Pass. Nope. Yup. Hopefully that makes sense. I think a lot of these tracks are actually really good. In fact, the vast majority are good. Sure, there are some shitters, but I don't even think they compare to intermissions. And trust me, we'll talk about the intermissions. But if I love the tracks so much, why do I hate this game? Well, if you've played this game, you probably know exactly why. You don't get to play on these tracks very often. For some reason, Nintendo has forced intermission tracks into almost every game mode. Don't believe me? Let's talk about... Alright, this is Mario Kart's bread and butter, Grand Prix mode. The way it works in this game is you race between 4 tracks in the open world. And when I say between, I mean that literally, because every race is an intermission. Okay, except the first one. The first race is not an intermission. So you do get to do one normal 3-lap track in a Grand Prix. But unfortunately, that first track is almost exclusively dogshit. The Mushroom Cup starts with Mario Bros. Circuit. The Flower Cup starts with Desert Hills. The Shell Cup starts with Koopa Troopa Beach, which by the way is just a circle, for 6 laps. Fun. Anyway, there's a total of 8 Grand Prix in this game. Each one has 4 tracks. 4 intermissions. 3 intermissions. 1 track, 3 intermissions. But like seriously, when you look at this, how are you meant to know that? It's so misleading to say Crown City when only about 20% of the race is Crown City. You might say, why does this matter? Who the hell cares? It's Mario Kart, dude. Listen, I've spent way too much time analyzing this game, and I've also spent way too much fucking money on this game. I'm well aware that this is a minor nitpick that a lot of people probably don't give a shit about, but I do, so please, let me have this. This road path is what shows you where your Grand Prix is going to take you. There doesn't seem to be any consistent pattern to this either. Sometimes it's a straight line, sometimes it's a C, sometimes it's a Z. The only real rule is that each track needs to be relatively close to the next track. This prevents you from having to do a cross-country drive. Knockout tour. Anyway, once you pick which intermissions you hate the least, you can start racing. Oh wait, but first you have to choose your engine speed. 50cc, 100cc, 150cc, or 2... Oh, right, they got rid of 200cc. God damn it. Because driving in a straight line is so fun, they really don't want to rush it. By the way, this footage is not sped up. I have heard a few theories that explain why 200cc is gone, but I don't find them compelling or satisfying at all. Some people have said that it's coming in an update. When and why? Why not just launch the game with all the features? If it's to reignite some hype a few years down the line, then sure, I could see that, but I do think it's scummy. However, there's another theory that's even more scummy, locking it behind DLC. This just seems likely. In fact, I'm going to make the call right now that that is exactly what's going to happen. If you're watching this in the future and I'm right, then please subscribe because I'm trying to get to 50k. Anyway, once you beat all the Grand Prix, you unlock Rainbow Road. Wow. It's really pretty. That's all I have to say about it. Every time you beat a Grand Prix, you unlock a new character. So, there's that. Look, I won't beat around the bush. Grand Prix are poo-poo, donkey shit, baloney, whatever you want to call it. I'm all in for experimenting with new ideas. When I was a kid, I ate an entire bar of soap. Can you blame me? It looked fun. In similar fashion, I wouldn't blame you for thinking this looks fun. But in both instances, once you take a bite, you realize, damn, this kind of tastes like shit. That shit you're tasting is all the intermissions. I've been alluding to them this entire video, but I think it's time we finally talk about them. First of all, let's set some ground rules. I'm going to be as open-minded as possible when talking about these. I don't want this video to just be a hate video. Intermissions are a big part of this game. Actually, the biggest part of this game. There are 202 intermission tracks. To be honest, I'm not even sure if I've played them all. It is a metric shit ton. In preparation for making this video, I tried to do as many as I could. I wanted to give these a fair chance, but I have to say, looking back, they all kind of blend together. Remember when I talked about what makes a track good to me? I mentioned themes, a balanced mixture of straights and turns, fun shortcuts, multiple routes you can take. You get the idea. All of these things are missing from intermissions. But don't take my word for it. Let's analyze an entire intermission track from start to finish, and try not to fall asleep. This is the intermission from Crown City to Peach Stadium. Every intermission starts with your car already driving. I think that's a nice touch because it makes it clear that you're playing an intermission, allowing you time to prepare for what's about to happen, or lack thereof. The race starts with a very long straightaway in Crown City. The road is incredibly wide and there's almost no obstacles whatsoever. Once you encounter your first turn, you'll find one of these. It's a rail that basically helps you make the turn. These are everywhere in intermissions. No, seriously, if there's a turn that's 90 degrees or more, you're gonna see one of these. And why? They are so much slower than just taking the turn normally.
It's looking good.
Going for that rail?
Yeah, I'll
Yes.
take it. Yeah, the more you play these courses, the more you start to realize these rails are all over the place. And there are different routes and different paths that you can take.
I understand that they might be there for beginners, but I actually think this works against beginners, since they're the ones that don't realize how slow it actually is. Anyways, once you do your 2 turns, now you're on a very long straightaway. Again, at least this time there's obstacles though, and boost panels. I should also point out that once you reach one of these little baby turns, the fastest way to take it is not by drifting. That might sound counterintuitive since drifting gives you a turbo, but when you're drifting, you're going significantly slower. The best way to go about these turns is to do micro adjustments on the joystick. Once you exit the tunnel, there's a massive patch of grass. This is what I was talking about earlier with Knockout Tour. It's an incredibly massive shortcut. All you need is a few mushrooms and you're practically guaranteed to shoot yourself to top 3. Also, it's incredibly easy. There is no risk outside of maybe these green pipes. Once you get past that section, you end up on another long straightaway with a bunch of boost panels. Sometimes you'll see cars with ramps you can trick off of, but it's usually not worth going for them. Just keep going straight for now. Once you enter Peach's Stadium, you're on the final lap, which is a circle. This is actually one of the few times it's worth drifting. The rest of the track track is just driving straightaways, there's no rails, there's no shortcuts, you just drive around this little loop and then you're done. That's the race. There are over 200 races like this. If you think I just cherry-picked the worst track, then believe me, there's far worse. Like Peach's Stadium to Koopa Troopa Beach is literally a straight line. It's so boring that I made a shitpost comparing it to working at McDonald's. Or Drybone's Burnout to Toad's Factory. This one's even worse because there's nothing to trick off of and there's no boost panels. Okay, but maybe I'm just playing these tracks wrong and the real way to play it is way more fun. Nope, what you've been watching the past couple minutes is world record gameplay. Okay, it's not actually world record gameplay, but this is world record gameplay. Does it look like it's world record? Let's compare this to the world record for Whistletop Summit. They start the race by getting their charge boost, but also braking so that they could just barely make it onto this left rail. Trick onto the pipe, trick off of the pipe, trick off the wall, trick onto a wall ride, trick back onto the rail, trick onto the rail again, use a mushroom through this patch of grass, do this crazy jump skip, then get back on the rail, get back on the pipe, get back on another rail, then you get the idea. Intermissions have shitty track designs, and we haven't even talked about the gameplay. With intermission tracks, you can stay in the back for the entire race, and there is practically zero risk in doing this. Even if you roll a bad question block, you can just try again. You have so much time to catch up to the pack, and once you finally do, you're the one with 20 coins. You're the one with 2 overpowered items. It's ludicrous how much of a disadvantage the frontrunners are in. They're the ones that constantly have to deal with being attacked, losing coins, getting shitty items, getting blue shelled. Meanwhile, you've done fuck all the entire race, and the only time you decide to poke your head out is right before the finish line so you can grab first. And there is nothing they can do to stop you. That is gameplay. Oh wait, but how could I forget about Nintendo's anti-sandbagging technology? You know, the one that does nothing unless you're literally not moving? I only figured this out because I went to get a snack at the start of a race. When I came back, I was in last, but when I picked up an item, it was horrible. Unfortunately, a grand total of 0% of people sandbag like this. This solves absolutely nothing. Keep in mind, there's 202 intermissions. I hope you're good at memorizing, but even if you do try to memorize these tracks, it can get kind of confusing. That's because every intermission can flow both ways. You can go from Bowser's Castle to Airship Fortress, or you can go from Airship Fortress to Bowser's Castle. So if you really want to get good at intermissions, you should probably also learn how to play the tracks backwards. And no, I'm not joking. I understand that there are many people who enjoy the intermissions. There are 2 things I want to say to you directly. 1, I wish I could be you. And 2, I don't want to remove the intermissions. If you like them, then you should be able to play them. That is your preference, and you shouldn't give a shit about whatever I have to say or anybody else. This does go both ways though. I enjoy the traditional tracks, and I would prefer to play only traditional tracks when I run the Grand Prix, not just 25% of the time. That leaves people like me with one of 2 options, versus race or time trials. Both of these modes will give you the choice to choose between intermissions and traditional tracks. I don't really have any problems with either of these modes, so I highly recommend that if you're playing single player, just play versus. You can just set the race count to 4 and it basically becomes a Grand Prix. You can even get the gold trophy at the end. Pretty nice. But let's be realistic, most of y'all don't want to play against bots, myself included, so where do I go? Where do we go? Nintendo Switch Online costs $20 every year. It's not the worst, but when you spend $450 on a console, $80 on a game, and $20 for online, it adds up pretty quickly. My recommendation, skip the camera. You're never gonna use this. When you play online, you have 3 modes to choose from: Race, Knockout Tour, and Battle Mode. These modes are exactly the same as their single-player counterparts with one major difference: how tracks are selected. Obviously, since you're playing with multiple people, everyone's choice is valuable, so they leave it up to a vote. Unless you're playing Knockout Tour, then it's just completely random. I assume that's because there's only 8 Knockout Tour tracks. Maybe you guys should have made more. Anywho, this voting system is a fucking disaster, and I don't say that lightly. You can't just vote on your favorite track. You're always given 3 choices: intermission, 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 or random. It is possible to get a traditional track in one of these 3 slots, but it's very unlikely. As far as I've seen, the chances of it happening is about 30%. Do take that with a grain of salt since it's not confirmed, but anecdotally speaking, that sounds about right. 30%. That means the overwhelming majority of the time you're choosing between 3 intermissions or random.
3 options here, but you can see there's an arrow to each of them, which means they're all intermission tracks. We have 3 intermission tracks again, 3 intermissions, 3 intermission tracks, 3 intermission tracks, 3 intermission tracks again.
This is a bad system. Whether or not you prefer traditional tracks or intermissions, it doesn't matter. Players should be able to vote for what they want to play. That's the whole point of voting. voting. This made people hate playing online since it was almost exclusively intermissions. Everyone's fear of this game just being straight lines was actually coming true. For about a day. The community quickly realized that choosing random doesn't just choose one of the random 232 tracks, it guarantees one of the traditional 3-lap tracks. This was our saving grace, and word was spreading fast. By day 2, the majority of people were choosing random. Once I heard about this, it reignited my excitement to play this game, and I was genuinely loving it. When I wasn't sleeping. For as janky as all of these online systems are, playing worldwides was so fun, and that's entirely thanks to the community. Y'all understood the assignment most of the time, but even if I had to play an intermission, it didn't bother me that much because it was only like 20% of the time. Annoying? Sure, but I'm sure that the people that want to play intermissions are even more annoyed since now they hardly get that opportunity. This voting system was still clearly broken for both sides, but it was manageable, we dealt with it. Who knows, maybe Nintendo will fix it in a few weeks. Boy, was I wrong. Nintendo saw this divide and came up with the most unintelligent, ignorant, dense, brainless, dull, slow-witted, stupid fucking idea I've ever seen. Forgive me because this section is going to get spicy. On June 25th, 2025, Nintendo released the worst update possibly ever. This day may well be remembered as the day Mario Kart World died. I know that sounds pretty damn dramatic, but hear me out. This update basically served one purpose. It made the random button choose intermissions as well as the traditional 3-lap tracks. So now, if you want to vote for a traditional track, you can't. The chance of a 3-lap track being picked when you choose random has gone from 100% down to 25%. You know what the other 75% is? Intermissions. But not just any intermissions, the intermissions that you can already vote for. Huh? That doesn't make any goddamn sense. The entire point of random is to not choose one of these three. Even if I liked intermissions, I would just choose my favorite intermission track. Why would I leave it up to chance? And this is so much worse than it seems on the surface. Let's imagine a situation where I see my favorite map, Great Question Block Ruins. Unfortunately, it's an intermission. Of course it is. But remember, intermissions still get one lap of that track. So out of these 3 intermission options, I would choose Great Question Block Ruins, no doubt. But what about if I choose random? Well, then it would be a 25% chance I vote Great Question Block Ruins, a 50% chance I vote one of the intermissions I don't want to play, and a 25% chance I vote a traditional 3-lap track. Even if I do roll that, it's a random track. It very well could be dog shit. And who is this for? What does it solve? Even if you only want to play intermissions, why would you choose random? Now, there's a 25% chance you won't play an intermission, and a 75% chance you'll just play one of the 3 options you could have already chose. This system doesn't benefit you either. In my experience, most people are still choosing random, because at least there's a chance. This actually creates another problem. Let's imagine that one of the intermission options is the race from Peach's Stadium to Koopa Troopa Beach. This intermission is awful. Even people who love intermissions are not going to vote for this. But people who want to pick 3-lap tracks have to risk voting for this track. And it's the same chance that you get this track over a traditional 3-lap track. 25%. This is all just to say that you're not only going to be playing more intermissions, but you're also going to be playing awful intermissions. Ones that no one wants to vote for. So, I'll ask again. Who is this for? Unfortunately, nobody benefits from this except people who like to spin a wheel for what they're gonna eat for breakfast every day. But in all seriousness, it's such an FU to the community. The same community that spent over $500 to play this game. I feel even worse for people who waited to buy this game. Remember, a lot of people were skeptical of the intermissions from the start. I'm sure plenty of people waited to see what online plays like. Then after seeing a bunch of videos, they realized, oh, I don't have to play the intermissions. I'm gonna buy a Switch too. Just for Nintendo to turn around and say, actually, yes you do. You will play the intermissions. It's our way or the highway. Literally. So the question is why? Why do this? Honestly, your guess is as good as mine. But just for fun, I'll toss a few ideas out there. Option A. Nintendo is really stupid and ignorant. They somehow don't realize that everyone's choosing random because they don't want to play intermissions. I don't think this option is very likely. Nintendo is massive. I just don't think that they're this unaware of how people enjoy playing their games. Even their community in Japan hates this. Option B. They think that by forcing us to play intermissions, we're going to get Stockholm Syndrome and start to like them. Yeah, I mean, maybe, but it's not working. People are mostly just upset and not playing the game right now. Option C. They want us to play these intermissions because they made them. A lot of time went into these and nobody's voting for them. I think this idea is probably the most viable, but it's also crazy given that it's likely going to hurt the game's reputation and its sales. The final option is probably the most sinister option. Gambling. Gambling is highly addictive. By making the fun 3-lap tracks extremely rare, when they do come up, it feels like such a treat. Choosing random literally feels like unwrapping Pokemon cards. You're probably gonna get trashed, but maybe you'll pull a Charizard. Again, I don't know know what Nintendo's doing. Maybe they're playing 5D chess and we're just playing checkers. Feel free to drop me a 5-paragraph essay about why Nintendo is always right. Maybe sprinkle in some death threats too, make it interesting. Before I move on, I do want to say everyone's talking about this update like it's going to be reverted. That is entirely possible, maybe even likely. If that happens, I will put it in the description. Hey, future Xander here. Look, I know they updated the game, it did not fix any of the problems, everything I still say here absolutely stands. I'll talk about that stupid update later in this video, but again, if they actually fix this system, I'll put it in the description. But wait, before you check, let's play a game. If it's there and they did change it, I will read and reply to every comment this video gets. Seriously. But if they didn't change it, you have to do something for me. I'm a pretty small YouTuber right now, so the best thing you can do for me is subscribe. That tells YouTube to send this video to more people, which is the hardest part about being a small YouTuber. Or you can just subscribe for a Switch too. Remember, I'm doing a giveaway, but I understand a lot of people don't want to subscribe, so maybe just leave a like. That helps too. And thank you. If you actually did that, thank you. Okay, back to it. Assuming they haven't fixed online, you have two other options. Your first option is to have a bunch of friends that play this game. You can create your own private room and do races with each other that way. This is great for 1v1s, but if you want a full lobby, you would need 23 friends. Or you just fill the rest with bots. This is where the second option becomes much more appealing. It's a community-run Discord server where people make their own rooms, with their own rules. You can easily find rooms that only allow 3-lap tracks. Perfect. Not really. Matchmaking is entirely an honor system. There's no VR score. And to put it simply, most people just don't want to rely on an external source to play their game. Also, before I forget, what the hell is this? Look at these custom settings. They're non-existent. You can't even disable items. What happened to being able to control the race? We used to be able to enable or disable items that we want. If I wanted to play a race with only blue shells, I could do that. Obviously, it's dumb, but it's custom game. That's the whole point. Also, take a look at this. In the course selection, you can either choose open, which means all tracks are allowed, random, which is random, and connected, which just means only intermissions. Notice anything? Where is the option to choose only traditional tracks? Once again, the answer is all the way up Nintendo's ass. Hey, speaking of Nintendo's ass, you know what else is missing up there? Amiibos. Where did those go? No one knows. What about Mii's? Nope, those are gone too. Ripped from existence. Probably because they were in such a rush. I mean, they had to pump this game out in only 8 years. But somehow they found the time to squeeze these shits into the game? The binoculars from Super Mario Odyssey? Why is this here? Also, this game wasn't even meant to be for the Switch 2. Originally, it was a Switch 1 game, but supposedly it ran like shit, and instead of trying to fix that, they just decided to launch it on the Switch 2 for $80. $80 fucking dollars. And this is what Nintendo had to say about that.
I would say it's less about the strategy of pricing Mario Kart World. It's more just whenever we look at a given game, we just look at what is the experience and what's the content and what's the value.
Really? Who makes these choices? God? Why is Donkey Kong Bonanza $10 cheaper than Mario Kart World? Is it less valuable? I don't think so. It got better reviews. Am I just supposed to believe that Nintendo wasn't being strategic about their pricing for the launch title of the Switch 2? No, of course they were. They charge this because they can. Okay, I've been really critical of this game, and being critical is fun and easy. What's not easy is giving genuine advice on how to fix this crap. I'll separate these fixes into two categories. The first will be small fixes that improve the gameplay experience and don't take much effort. Then the next category will focus on much bigger changes, things that require a bit more elbow grease. These changes would probably take at least several months to develop. Let's start with the first category. I wish that this game would fix the character selection screen, make skins part of characters. Since there's multiple pages, add a favorites button. Also, show the stats for the character you're hovering over. It's relevant. Change the map button from Y to minus. When you're looking at the map, show how many collectibles there are. Make smart steering off by default. Allow us control over items in custom game. Have an option when playing Grand Prix to not do the intermissions. This would be the same tracks but not the intermission versions. Give the intermission tracks highway names like Route 66 North. Also, change the thumbnail of the intermissions. Or at least highlight it yellow so it's visually distinct from the other tracks. When you play multiplayer, have an option to choose between intermission tracks only, traditional tracks only, and mixed. Make the random button actually select a random track, not just one of these. Remove everyone who doesn't own the game from the friends tab. Make the free roam icon bold and bigger. When in private rooms, remove the waiting for host to start game icon. Allow players to join each other in online knockout tours. When you get knocked out, you should be able to spectate whoever you want, not just the person in first. Remove the waiting times between races, just go straight in. Also, remove the triple mushroom guarantee if you miss the start boost. This is not an extensive list, and these changes changes should not be hard to implement. That's the whole point. If Nintendo wanted to make these changes, I bet they could be done in a week, and it would make the game substantially stronger. Nonetheless, the game would still have some major issues. If we want to fix those, we're gonna have to do some much deeper changes. Like, starting with the open world, I think this really lacks a reward structure. The stickers just don't cut it, so what else could be a reward? I think the characters, the carts, and the skins. The characters are already roaming the open world, but imagine if you had to catch them to unlock them. Kinda like Manhunt. If they see you, they try to drive away, but if you crash into them with your cart, you unlock them as a character. Ideally, some characters would be harder to catch than others. Maybe they could even use rails or throw green shells at you, and if it's too hard, just come back to it later. Not everything has to be super easy. I also think you shouldn't have all the tracks as warp points right off the bat. You should at least have to drive to the track to unlock it as a warp point. Again, this rewards exploration. Filling out a map is really satisfying. Perhaps every track could hold a piece of the map, and then once you get that map, you're able to see what characters are in that area. Collecting skins and carts is going to get completely reworked. They're both going to be rewards for P-switches now. If you see a purple P-switch, you'll get a skin. If you see a red P-switch, you'll get a cart. These P-switches will be some of the harder ones, like unique tests of skill. The rest of the P-switches will still be blue, but instead of a sticker, they'll give you coins. Then you can use the coins to buy the skins. There will be a shop at Peach's Stadium where you can buy every skin. However, Yoshi's Diner is still going to exist, and if you want them for free, you can also visit those. Beyond just buying skins, you can also use your coins to get paint jobs. Nothing crazy to make the car look completely different, just a little something to give it personality. You can also buy race markers, which will let you set your own route for a race, literally anywhere in free roam. Then you could publish that race to your friends, and they could race it. Of course, 90% of the races would just be dicks, but who knows, maybe that would be fun. Private rooms now allow you to use P-switches. Now you can go do them with your friends. Mirror mode is no longer unlocked by doing a bunch of random shit. Instead, you have to find a secret mirror on each track. I think these changes to free roam would go a long way in making it feel like it wasn't just forgotten about. It certainly would never compare to something like Breath of the Wild, but it doesn't really have to. After all, free roam is kind of a side mode compared to the races. Speaking of the races, let's fix those. Sandbagging needs to be nerfed. Ideally, these massive shortcuts get entirely removed, or at the very least have some risk involved. Throw in some obstacles or enemies. Next, we need to buff front running. The easiest way to do this would be to add more shortcuts. Not these big ass ones, but little corner cuts to help you stay ahead of the pack. Speaking of the pack, it needs to be dispersed more. Everyone is way too clumped together. The main reason for that is because the fastest way to drive this track is also the easiest. Everyone takes the same route, so add some more routes. Make some faster, make some harder, introduce some risk. Even if the road is just a wide straight line, you can use rails to make very interesting routes. This would make the skill ceiling way higher on all of the intermissions. The best strategy would now be to drive in first and be skilled enough to pull off the hardest shortcuts. Crazy, I know. Playing 4-player mode is now 60 FPS. Come on guys, it's a Switch 2. Knockout Tour now has a custom mode. You can now choose which intermission tracks it races on and where it starts and ends. Amiibos and Miis are back. 100%ing Grand Prix mode gives you a golden Mario skin. 100%ing Knockout Tour gives you a golden cart. These changes would make Mario Kart World a much fuller experience. Single player would actually have things to do, and multiplayer might actually be balanced. These changes are very far-fetched though, and obviously wouldn't change the game overnight. I tried to keep these changes somewhat realistic as to not entirely rewrite the game. That's an entirely different conversation, but nonetheless, Nintendo was never going to make one of these changes. So, they made a few changes. While I was wrapping up the editing for this video, they released version 1.2.0. This is my live reaction to that. Wait, there's no way. Wait, no, 1.2.0? I'm scared. I was honestly hoping for one thing. Just one thing. I wanted to go back to having the choice to vote for a 3-lap track if I wanted to. So, did they make that change? Well, before I answer that, let's look at the more minor changes. I'm gonna specifically focus on the things that I called out. Firstly, they let us have a bit more customization during versus races. Now you can choose stuff like mushrooms only or just disable bots. Nice. They also made it so you can spectate other people during knockout tours. Also, once you collect all the collectibles, they change colors, so you'll know that you've collected them all. So far, so good. Decreased the probability of getting triple mushroom. Okay, well, this one just seems like a lie. From my experience, it still seems like you're guaranteed triple red mushrooms if you miss the start boost. So I'm not really sure what they were getting at here. They also made the boost from doing tricks way more powerful. So I hope you didn't have a world record because it's about to get stolen. Overall, these changes are mostly fine. They're simple, small, but beneficial. But ultimately, there's only one change that really everyone's been asking for. Did they fix the intermissions? Did they fix the voting system? The answer is, can we get a drum roll? Did they put it all back? Is there an option? Is there an option? No! What did the update do? The update did say it increased the frequency of seeing lap-type courses in this election. But by how much exactly? I thought surely there would be at least one option to vote for a 3-lap track. But then I saw this. No! 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 There's no way! I was shocked. But maybe they just reverted it to how it was, where random always selected a 3-lap track. So everyone voted random as per usual, and it was still one of the intermissions we see on the screen. No, 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 no. I'm not playing that shit. Chat, this is weird. This is weird. Very weird. So, I wanted to try to figure out the probabilities myself. I loaded up a private room with my friend and raced 40 times. Out of the 40 races, I figured out random hasn't changed at all. Still a 25% chance of getting a 3-lap track. As for the other voting options, these were my findings. 40% of the time, I got one option for a 3-lap track. 60% of the time, I got only intermissions. Wow. I'm not even sure what to say to that. They saw what the community wanted. They knew what we were asking for. This is not a solution. It's a band-aid on a gunshot wound. If this is Nintendo's only response to this problem, this game will die. The marginally better odds of getting a 3-lap track is simply not enough. The solution is not to increase the probability. It's to give you a consistent choice to pick a 3-lap track. What exactly is the point of this? Going from a 30% chance of a 3-lap to a 40% chance? Did they think that would be enough? They put all their chips into these intermission tracks, and when they didn't work, they doubled down. And then tripled down? I respect them trying new ideas. They could have just played it safe and pressed the easy button. Release Mario Kart 9 with a couple new tracks and a few new characters. Instead, they took on a massive undertaking with the open world, knockout tour, and some really well-designed tracks. These ones, not these ones. It's cool to innovate, but after 11 years, I expected more. Mario Kart 8 came out in 2014. They had so much time to think this through, yet it feels like one massive jumble of ideas that don't work with one another. It's as if anyone in the dev team could just yell out an idea and it would just make it into the game. It's a mess. It's slop. But slop isn't always bad. This game can be really fun. At its heart, it's still Mario Kart, and the Mario Kart formula is fun, period. Streaming this game for a week was so much fun, and I still love playing it, about 25% of the time. The reason I hate this game is because of how much I wanted to love it. For all the things that it does right, it does twice as many things wrong. 1 step forward and 2 steps back. And who knows what's next? Mario Kart World is likely going to be the only Mario Kart game for the next decade. But I feel like this game died before it even had a chance to live. Thank you so much for watching this whole video. Genuinely, I appreciate it. If you still somehow want to play this game, don't forget, I'm doing a Switch 2 giveaway with Mario Kart World. All you have to do is subscribe and follow the instructions in the pinned comment. Whether you agree with me or not, I appreciate you listening. I've been working on this video since the game's release, and I'm kinda sad that it's over. Just the journey alone of making this video has been kinda wild. A large majority of it has been sitting in a hospital bed. Unfortunately, my heart stopped. That's not a joke. But I'm fine now. I have a pacemaker, and luckily it shouldn't affect my daily life, which means I can keep making videos for my loyal Patreons and members. Thank you, Patreons and members. If you do want to support me and the video, the best thing you could do is leave a like and drop a comment. Good luck to everyone who tries to win the Switch 2. Again, thank you so much for watching. If you want to support me, all my links are in the description. I'm gonna go play Donkey Kong. Bye!